The archetype of leadership is a beautiful theme within the human psyche, which at the lower frequencies, when we are in survival mode, when we are imprisoning ourselves in a false perspective and a false identification of being separate from other, shows up as arrogance and prevents us from experiencing true harmony or the whole, the totality. And what happens at a certain moment in our journey, in our soul's journey, is that all of the power that can be galvanized through one's individual will, through arrogance, pierces now through the membrane, through into another level, which becomes the power of leadership. And leadership is always about having a goal, of having a vision, and of getting there. And the true leadership is the heart leading, not the heart separated from the rest of oneself. It needs to be intelligent compassion. But basically what happens is true leadership is the full embodied gift of self to the whole, and therefore it culminates as humility. And this is the theme of the 31st gene key, which goes through these different frequency bands and which can really teach us a lot about our own sovereignty. For one thing, leadership is an inside job. In other words, if you are looking to an outside leader, that can be fine depending on the context. The quality of that leader will be in his or her ability to send you back inside to your own intrinsic sovereignty and leadership as a soul here. Because leadership is about both pulling and pushing and being in this movement, in this momentum that goes towards betterment, truth, goodness, beauty of our evolution in whatever ways that shows up. So a true leader is always going to be in service to that somehow. And of course it starts with our own community of cells, where each human being is leading trillions of cells, right? And it can be a challenge to lead ourselves out of the lower frequencies and to lead the body out of its imprinted habits in order to get into a better place of truly showing up to express what it is that really makes our hearts sing. And what makes the heart sing is always going to be beauty. It's always going to be pure. It's always going to be loving and compassionate and capable of expanding to include more and more. I think it was Rumi who said that in order for the heart to grow, it needs to break. In other words, to experience grief, to experience loss, to experience these states of being that we are given here as humans in this imperfect world. And I use air quotes because whilst it is imperfect, at a certain level, the imperfection is an opportunity for us to advance towards more perfection, and that is a beautiful thing indeed. And I'm not speaking of the head's perfection of absolute math. I'm speaking of a greater harmony, which can only really be felt in the heart, and also in the gut, in the lower parts of our anatomy, where our instincts and our drives concentrate their power and their force, and where they need to be on board in our alignment in this eternal now of our vertical axis, in order for us to be able to open and expand coherently along the horizontal axis of the here. So the 31st gene key, or this archetype of leadership, of humility, of arrogance, is a really pivotal one, because it is the one that speaks to the heart, being the driver of the vehicle, not the head. And this has been reflected and expressed by so many wisdom keepers throughout the ages, including people like Einstein, who spoke of the reason needing to be in service to the imagination. That was another way of saying that. So let's just linger for a little while with this archetype, with this inner knowledge of what true leadership is, of the absolute humility of the whole for all of the parts, and also of the potential that arrogance holds to teach us what is right. Because we all go through these moments, or we have all gone through them, of ignorance, of error, in whatever way it showed up. Just linger with this and know that your own knowing, my own knowing, it's the I am, is here to lead through the heart. And we don't always know what that's going to look like. That's also surrendering to this movement of love that is coursing through us more and more as we show up. And we're okay not knowing. We're okay surrendering, not in a blind way of abdicating our power to someone else, but in the way of trusting completely in the now, the greater intelligence of which we are a part and which is inside of us. And this surrendering and being comfortable with not knowing is also graced through the presence in the gene keys system of the programming partner of this 31st gene key, which is the 41st gene key of emanation. And at the shadow level, it's called fantasy. You can see how arrogance and fantasy go together. And then at the gift level, where we have leadership, the gift of the 41st is anticipation. So though there might not be logical capacity to predict, there's at the same time an energetic knowing and welcoming of something that is coming next, which is basically a more embodied version of the vision of the ideal that we hold in our hearts. And then at the Siddhic level, humility and emanation are, like both of them, the aroma and the body of the totality of God, of universal intelligence, of this great boundless consciousness of which we are each and everyone an expression, a unique expression. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and until next time.